So last week the surveyors were out and they kind of laid out all of the key points of the building. It became apparent that in some areas our excavation doesn't provide enough clearance, like in this corner, where that's actually that peg is the inside of the wall, and we've still got this big old part of the building here. So we're going to either have to shift the wall slightly or chip that back. And then in the opposite corner, we've kind of got the same problem. Over here you can see the peg is in the side of the wall rather than in the ground, and so this needs to be cut back a bit. Looking up now, it's actually pretty obvious that we just didn't excavate far enough, and so we need to do that today or in this week. And then we've got a similar situation over here on this wall, where it's not difficult to clear away, but there's just some remaining material that means the peg is in the wrong place. After we've cleared some space, I need to knock in these pegs. I've decided to use steel pegs instead of the normal kind of wooden batter pegs because the ground is really hard to knock anything into, and the steel pegs are actually a little bit easier to drive in. Overall, there are quite a lot of these pegs to drive in. I count around 53, but there's probably more. And to make that easier, I made up this little gadget which just fits on the end of a standard 22mm SDS adapter. And so that allows me to use a cordless SDS drill, which I picked up second hand, to hammer in the pegs, which is a lot easier than using just a hammer. And it actually works pretty well. It's kind of like driving in the piles. I made up this little template to give me some guidance and on how far to space these pegs, and it seems to be working okay so far. There are a couple of places where I need to check the distance between the pegs to make sure that they've all been laid out correctly. To make that easier, I've 3D printed these little caps that just slot on top of the peg, and they have a slot cut into them where the tape measure just fits in, and that positions the tape measure, or the end point from which to measure on the tape measure, directly over the center of the peg, and so that gives me a fairly accurate position, and it rotates nicely without any hassles, and is pretty sturdy. I can then measure the distance to the next peg, and I've made up a table of all of the distances between pegs, and so in this case we're sitting at, I don't know, 9 meters and 30 odd millimeters, and it should be, according to the table, 9036, so we're good.